Welcome to the channel. I, Elazareth, was sent here to tell the stories that have been erased, overlooked, and dismissed in history of time. No story is irrelevant, big or small. The story of West Alabama is carved from the rich, dark soil of the Black Belt. It is a landscape where history runs deep, and where the quiet courage of everyday people completely reshaped the American South. At the heart of Pickens County's modern transformation stands the profound, inspiring story of Reverend James "Jimmy" Corder. He was a cotton farmer, a primitive Baptist pastor, and a fearless community organizer. Jimmy Corder proved to the world that a sixth-grade education was absolutely no barrier to changing the course of history. Born in the rural Vienna community near Aliceville, Alabama, Jimmy Corder knew the heavy demands of the West Alabama earth. For decades, his days were dictated by the steady rhythm of farming cotton and tending to the land. But Corder's true calling extended far beyond his own fields. For 66 years, he served as the pastor of Old Bethany Primitive Church in Aliceville, shepherding his congregation with a theology firmly rooted in the physical reality of his people's lives. Corder famously believed that a preacher's duty wasn't just to prepare people for the afterlife, but to fight for dignity in the present one. He once noted, "If I couldn't show the people what was right here, I don't believe I could do a good job showing them something that was out of sight." The turning point in Corder's life came in 1965. Moved by the tectonic shift of the Voting Rights March in Selma, where he marched alongside Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Corder returned to Pickens County determined to break the status quo. At the time, organizing openly for civil rights in West Alabama was incredibly dangerous. Pickens County had seen no public demonstrations, and local law enforcement actively suppressed any whispers of a movement. Realizing he needed to protect his community while still pushing for progress, Corder used a brilliant grassroots strategy. Instead of forming an official political chapter, he organized under the banner of the Rural Farm and Development Council. When his own church deacons, fearful of white retaliation, hesitated to let the movement gather inside the sanctuary, Corder pivoted. He built his core organization outside the church walls, jokingly recalling later that he built it out of sinners, the local folks who had less institutional status to lose and were willing to take immediate, dangerous chances. By 1968, the tension in Pickens County reached a boiling point. Corder and his council organized a rally around the city hall in Aliceville to directly confront administrators about discriminatory public spending and biased law enforcement, where black drivers were routinely targeted while others were waved through. Later that year, Corder led the very first civil rights march in Pickens County history in the town of Carrollton. Over 300 black citizens stepped onto the pavement, marching shoulder to shoulder. The local sheriff threatened to turn attack dogs loose on the protesters, a terrifyingly familiar tactic in Alabama at the time. But Corder and the marchers refused to break formation. They held their ground, staring down the threat with quiet defiance. The ripple effects of that 1968 march shattered decades of economic and political exclusion in West Alabama. Almost immediately, a movement began that forced local businesses and municipal offices to finally open up employment opportunities for black workers. Corder didn't stop there. He helped establish the county's first Head Start Center to ensure rural children received early education, fought tirelessly for small farmers' rights, and worked to bring young black legal minds into the area to fight voting rights and discrimination cases. As the doors of institutional power slowly unlocked, Corder walked through them to cement the change. He broke barriers in the late 1960s as one of the county's first black school board members. Then, from 1987 to 1990, The farmer who once stood at the margins of county power served on the Pickens County Commission, helping direct the very taxpayer funds he had once protested over. In 1989, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference honored his decades of quiet, fierce resilience by presenting him with the Martin Luther King Jr. Dreamers Award. Though Jimmy Corder passed away in a Reform, Alabama nursing home in 2003, his narrative remains woven into the bedrock of West Alabama. He raised 11 children, driving home a fierce requirement that they pursue the higher education he was denied. Today, when people look at the diverse leadership, expanded job opportunities, and enduring community institutions across West Alabama, they are looking at the harvest of seeds planted decades ago by a Baptist preacher on a tractor who decided his community had waited long enough for justice. Thanks for checking out the channel, like and subscribe, and please share this video, would surely be appreciated. See you in the next video.